Unveiling the secrets of relationships. I don't know, but I think we're going to have a great episode today. Come and join us on Uplift.
Come on, go.
G'day and welcome to Uplift. My name is Sarah Wade. I'm coming to you live from Perth in Western Australia, and it's actually a pretty wet and miserable day here, but I know, like you, that I know how to have amazing conversations, doesn't matter what the weather is. So come and join us on our adventures today. We've got Mr. Neil Thrussell joining us from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Nice to see you, mate.
It's wonderful to see you again, and we had wet weather yesterday, so it's sunny here. So maybe we'll send you the weather, our sunny weather. It's all good. So I'm really excited.
Melbourne might need the weather too. It's so many different weathers in one day in Melbourne. Joining us from Melbourne, actually, we have Yalini. I'm going to ask you to pronounce the surname. We've practiced it before, but I'm going to let you do it so I don't make an atrocity of it.
It's totally okay, Sarah. It is Nirmalarajah. Rolls off the tongue. Lots of A's there to help you.
I got it right in the green room, I promise.
You did. You did. You could have done it. I believe in you.
I love that. I love the self-love and the love that you're giving me here. It seems quite pertinent, actually. Has self-love always been something that you've been into, or has it just sort of come out in the last, I don't know, decade or something?
Oh, this self-love journey has been a complete accident, to be honest with you. So my background was kind of fell into it, which is a beautiful space to fall into, really. But my background was in hypnotherapy. So I originally studied psychology and then was just really curious about the unconscious mind, because when I did psychology, I always wanted to know how the mind worked, which parts of the brain were firing and the neurons and the interconnections. And then hypnotherapy really looks at the unconscious mind. It's a part of us that we don't think about day to day, but it's responsible for our habits, our traumas, our processes day to day, the way that we think, the way we respond to certain circumstances. So that fascinated me. And as I went down the path of hypnotherapy, I used to specialize in anxiety, depression, and weight loss. And as I helped my clients move through deep anxiety, deep depression, they ended up finding love as a part of, it's just a nice little side effect. And not just short-term love, but love where they were getting married, love where they were finding the loves of their lives. And I went, okay, when this happens a few times, typically around a similar part of the program, you kind of think, maybe it's not just a coincidence. Maybe there's a little bit more to it. Yeah, which is a really fun side effect. And so I started to look at what was going on in my programs with my clients. And it was the process of deep self-healing, moving through our traumas. Because when we are scared, when we have been hurt in this life, we have so many walls that go up. Right? Because we just want to protect ourselves. I've been hurt in the past. I have been down this road and I don't know if I can let you in. I don't know if it is safe for me to open my heart, because that can hurt. And so as we undo those layers of pain, of fear, of trauma, our hearts become receptive to receiving. We become safe to share and to connect with someone on a deeper level, to share parts of ourselves that maybe we kept hidden before. And we're also connecting not from trauma, but from a true, authentic place in our hearts. So it becomes a greater, stable, and happier love. And so that's when I went down the journey of relationships and coaching, and then understanding the difference between masculine and feminine energies. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those terms. It's not about gender. Because, we've got genders, but masculine and feminine energy is really about character traits. So, the moment you use the word energy, a lot of people think it starts to get a little bit woo-woo, but it's really just terms to describe traits that we exhibit, all of us, in day-to-day life. So the masculine energy is the part of us that takes action, that's goal-oriented, that wants to achieve things. And the feminine energy is the parts of ourselves that wants to connect with people, where we nurture one another, where we feel safe to receive. We don't always have to go all the time, but it's okay for someone to help us and to support us and to feel connected as part of a community. And going down the path of masculine and feminine energy, I'll tell you what, that was a game changer for me, especially when it came to self-love and relationships, because that was really about connecting with who we really are in a way that we've lost, because we're living in a society now that tells, especially for women, that we need to be able to do it all, that we don't need a man, that we need to be self-sufficient, that it has to be all on us. And that makes it really difficult to soften, especially when you've been hurt, especially when you've been betrayed. And so a lot of us are operating from our masculine energy, which means when we enter relationships, it's kind of like a business transaction. We're both operating from our heads and no one's bringing the heart, not in a deep and meaningful way. So that's, that's a little bit about my story and where I've come from and what I focus on with my clients and myself.
So I just want to go back to the masculine and feminine energies. So as energies, are they energies in both? Like I can have both masculine and feminine energy, or it's just nope, I'm all masculine?
That is such a great question. You absolutely have both. Neil, you can be masculine and you can be feminine, because pretty sure you want to receive love too. You don't want to just be out there working your butt off all day long and have no one to take care of you. Yeah. So we're both. All of us have masculine and feminine energies within us because we have all of those traits. We are just inherently more one than the other. And that's not to do about your gender. So there are some women that will naturally be more masculine than feminine, and some men that will be more feminine than masculine. But for ease of conversation, I tend to talk about feminine energy in women and masculine energy in men, because it just makes it a lot easier to follow along.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that I know that I can relate, various times being a woman, I have had to put on various shoes, various hats, and there's different energies that come with it, masculine or feminine. And it's an interesting topic, isn't it, as we go forward, and how there seems to be a bit of shifts in the last few decades. And I'm curious to know, where do you think we're going to go forward from this space that we're in 2024? What do you see things happening in the next maybe 6 years or so?
I really feel like the shift that's happening now that's taking us forward is almost going back to what it used to be like. And what I mean by that is there were more traditional roles that used to exist for a man and a woman. So where men would go out, be the protectors, the providers, which is a masculine trait. And women used to be home, they used to look after the family, they used to really be the nurturing center for that community. And we went from that type of life to one of female empowerment, where we get to go out into the workforce and we get to show up and be self-sufficient, which is amazing. It's also why I have my business, right? Because I'm going out there in the world and building a career. But we've gone to an extreme where a lot of women are burnt out. So there was the boss girl era for a while, where it was, we can do it all, we don't need a man, and you can work hard and you can have the family and you can have your friends. You should be able to tick all of those boxes and operate high on all of those stages. And that is not sustainable. Where a lot of women tried, a lot of them burnt out. And it's not a realistic level to function at, because it doesn't honor the fact that we need rest, the fact that we need balance, the fact that we need support. And we are herd animals. None of us came into this world to do it all on our own. So that boss girl era where you don't need a man did us a disservice, because it also made us isolated. It made us alone and disconnected from the supports that need to be a part of all of our lives. So where I see us going is recalibrating and going, let's take all of these good bits that came with the movement for independence and for freedom and find our balance, but in a way that's authentically us. For some people, their authentic personality is to be a stay-at-home mum. And there's a level of shame that's attached to that these days for a lot of women that, oh, so you're not doing
Yeah.
anything beyond that? You're not providing, you're not supporting your man, you're not contributing to society. And for some women that are more masculine, they are going to be career oriented. That's their first priority because that is who they are. But there's a movement now to the snail girl era. I don't know if you've heard of it. But
Nail
it's
girl
really
era. What?
so
What's
it's a
wrong?
it's great. It's exactly what you think it is. It's slow movement. So where we had the boss girl era of going out, working really hard, doing it all, and women got burnt out and went, this actually isn't sustainable. And not only is it not sustainable, but it doesn't feel good. Because then we stop living for ourselves. We are living our lives based on what someone else thinks that we should do, based on boxes that they think we should be ticking, based on standards that they have set. And it is our life. And we have to deal with the consequences of that. Because if we are not living authentically and we are burning ourselves out and we are miserable and we are tired and we are sick and we are run down all of the time, what is the point? Really, because we're not showing up for ourselves or to the people around us, because often we do it thinking, oh, but I've got to take care of my family. I've got to take care of my kids. I've got to put them first. I've got to put my family first. I have all of these responsibilities. And we do it thinking that that's us being a good person. But then when we fall apart and we crumble and we are grumpy and we are not nice to be around, that doesn't serve them. And so right. So the snail girl era is the antidote, or it's the movement away from that going, I don't want to do 1,000,001 things at one time. I don't want to have 101 balls in the air that I am juggling, that I don't want to go out and only have 3 hours of sleep every night and think that that's something to be proud of. I don't want to just be grumpy and angry all of the time. I want balance. I want to find
Oh,
ways to take it slow. I want to find ways to take things off my plate that no longer feel good. I do not want to do everything on my own. I want support, and I am not afraid to ask for help.
uh, I know, but
I
you
love
nailed it. I'm wearing a smile and feeling good from within. And what we've been speaking about, this is me. I didn't realize I was a snail girl. So, hey to all the other snail girls out there who are also like me, just realizing you're a part of this movement. It's reminding me of I'm going to paraphrase an actor, Lily Tomlin, who basically said, if going fast isn't working, try slowing down. And I feel like that's relevant to what we're talking about today. Neil, what's your perspective on this?
I'm loving the slow down, but I also think it's as we burn out, and whether it's male or female, or it's we as a society are I believe at some level are burning out, and we're looking and we're going within and we're finding what our true loves are again, not what society wants and expects me of me, but what really makes me happy. And I love that Yalini is talking, well, we're going to get to self-love and how important, because as we discover who we are, we have to learn to or relearn and rediscover all the greatness that resides within ourselves. Because I believe I'm not worth anything if I don't love myself, because I have to love myself before I can be in any kind of quality relationship. I can be in one night stands, I can be in whatever, but till I bring value to myself, we're in trouble. And slowing down and getting off the little bus and doing all of these things is just one of these beautiful ways to do it. So I'm aboard on the snail movement. Let's go.
I love that.
I
Amazing.
love
Because
that.
we're rewriting the narrative.
I'm curious if anyone else is just having light bulb moments. So if you're having a light bulb moment and you two are part of this now movement, please let us know. Please tell me I'm not alone.
Because
if you've heard it before, it's a thing of why haven't you told me? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, because the one thing that I want to highlight is with the snail girl era, especially for women, if you are a feminine energy person, you need to feel good to do good. Whereas a masculine energy needs to do good to feel good. So often it's only once you achieve something that you feel good about yourself and then you can take a break. Whereas if for a feminine energy woman, the problem with the boss girl era is that there was no space to feel good. You just had to keep pushing yourself. You just had to keep going and working hard. And, there were no excuses. It was almost like that old saying of no pain, no gain. That was almost the way that you lived your life. Where the snail girl era for the feminine of needing to feel good to do good allows her to reconnect with herself first and understand what's going on inside of my body so I can fill my cup up. I'm just reading the comment. The Aaron is saying, let's go to the snail movement. It sounds good, right? But again, but with anything, it's balance. I'm not saying that the snail girl era is, hey, let's just stop. You know what? I don't feel good today. I'm just going to take the day off and have some tea, go for a walk, have a nap, which some days you might need, but you wouldn't live your life from that. What the snail girl era does is allows you to recharge your batteries, to do things that feel good for yourself so you can actually show up for yourself and the people around you in a way where you're going to be more productive, where people are going to actually enjoy being around you, right? Because we've all been in situations when we've been tired, we are run down, and we do not have the energy. That is not when the best side of me comes out.
No? Yeah, fair. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think when we're tired and run down, we're even like towards the end of the day when we're making not our best decisions, there's giving to ourselves in that moment, whether it's a breath, even 5 seconds of breath is a beautiful amount of time that you can give yourself anytime, anywhere, just to be with yourself and in that moment. What's something else that you would recommend people do on that?
For self-love or for taking a break?
Well, both. Because self-love and taking a break for me are going hand in hand here in this analogy. So I'm wondering, when you're taking a break, like for me, when I go to cuts, I will do some core exercises and I will do something that I know is going to help my body. And I know that, in a conversation where I might just need to take a minute, the breath helps me and it helps the person that I'm with as well. So there's so many ways that we can look at self-love, but I'm curious to know, what is something that you would recommend that you can do anytime and anywhere?
Okay, perfect. I love this question. And there's two things that come to my mind with some of the examples that you use. So I want to just look at the core exercises and the breath. So with core exercises, often, especially if you've been living from a masculine energy, which is go, 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 and do, and you need to fuel the burn to feel like you're doing something that's good for you. When we think of self-care from that space, the first thing that most women and men will go to is cardio or weights or some form of intense activity, because that's self-care. That's me taking care of my body. And that's great, but that's not the same as relaxing. One thing that I find people find challenging to do is something like yin yoga. And yin yoga isn't where you're standing up doing all of these crazy poses and, holding your body in a particular way. It's basically just stretching. And that sounds like some of the most boring things that you could possibly do, because you are holding a stretch for 3 to 5 minutes. But that process of stretching and holding it and being still in that moment for 3 to 5 minutes allows you to actually come back to your body. Because exercising, when it's weights and cardio, although yes, they are great for you, it is still doing. It is still a form of energy that it can deplete the body. And so yin yoga is about restoration. It's about filling your cup up again. And if you've never done it before, and I was not flexible, at all when I started, and I'm still working on it. I found it incredibly challenging because what happens is when we are present with our body, when we are present with our breath and we are in the moment, the things that we have been stuffing down starts to come up. And so for me, I started to get a bit angry when I would hold a pose because I could feel the tension in my muscles. I'm like, oh, how much longer do I need to hold this for? And it's emotions that are stored in the body. We store emotions everywhere in different organs, in different tissues, in different cells. So when we bring the breath to that space and it allows it. Gosh, I can't even speak. That's how many tensions are happening when I'm thinking of yin yoga. It allows it to be released. It allows it to come out through the breath. And so some people will do yin yoga and be overcome with emotions. They might start to cry and they don't know why. They might feel anger and they don't know why. And so the breath is the antidote to allow that to actually come out of the cells of our body and be released. And that is one of the greatest acts of self-love because it means that all of this pressure, all of this chaos, all of this pain that I am holding in my body, I don't have to hold it anymore. It's giving yourself permission to let it go. And not only are you relieving yourself of that emotional burden, but you're also going to feel a lot better because everything's not tight anymore. Because that's what we tend to do when we're stressed and when we're upset. You've probably had moments when you've had a really stressful day or something's happened and it's upset you. And most people will hold it in their stomach and you can feel that tension and it's kind of stuck. And it means your lunch is still sitting there, nothing has digested. It's because your body is designed to be in flow. And when we are stressed and emotions are a form of stress, we are no longer in flow. So we are holding all of this energy that is stagnant and bringing our breath back to it and allowing our bodies to stretch allows it to flow once again. So it's not stuck there. So that was just touching on the exercise aspect of it. As we return to the breath, as you mentioned, Sarah, that you can do anytime and anywhere. And the reason the breath is so important is because we talk about nutrition, right? To be healthy, to live well. We talk about what we need to eat. We talk about how much water we should be drinking. I love that you're taking a sip, Neil. Thank you. Perfect timing. But we don't always talk about the breath. And you can go weeks without food. You could go days without water. You will not get through a single day without your breath. When we are stressed and we are running around and we have so many things on our plate, the one most common thing that most of us do is we hold our breath. And we don't even know we're doing it. It's almost like holding will help me get through things faster. And if I take a deep breath, then I'm going to physically slow down. But you will not
Doesn't work like
live.
that, does it?
No. And so we need our breath. We need our breath to survive. We need our breath to think. We need our breath to function. And so that, if you think of the breath as love, that is the greatest gift of self-love that you could possibly give yourself.
One of my teachers said that we come into the world on a breath and we end the world on a breath.
Yeah. That's true. Everything else is a lot of breaths in between.
Yeah. Yeah. So self-love. So let's say, for example, I'm in the midst of a self-loathing episode and I'm just not feeling the love for Neil. Is there some things that I can do to help me find the wonderfulness in Neil again?
Yeah. So the simplest thing that you can do, and it sounds so unsexy, is just to accept where you are. Most people think when we talk about self-love, here's the greatest myth. Most people think it is that feeling that it's going to be warm and fuzzy on the inside, that's just going to make you feel great. Like being in love. It's like, when you love yourself, you are on cloud 9. You think you are amazing. You are just lit up from the inside like a Christmas tree. Yeah. Here's the reality of self-love. Self-love at its absolute core is just acceptance. Because from that space of acceptance, you can have compassion for yourself. And here's what's not happening when you have acceptance for yourself. Self-love is the absence of shame, of guilt, of all of the conversations that are going on in your head saying why you are not good enough, why this isn't enough, why you didn't show up, why you need to do better, why you are ugly, why you are not worth loving, why unless you lose weight, unless you change how you look, unless you change how you dress, you will never be accepted in this life. And that is the cause of so much pain for so many people. And so the process of self-love mostly happens when you're not feeling it. And it's simply about saying, that's okay. That's okay that I'm not feeling it right now. It's okay to simply be in the moment, because it's only once you accept where you are that you then give yourself the space to go, okay, now I'm ready to move forward. Now I'm ready to actually do something about it. And you can do it with kindness. So if it starts with acceptance, all of those voices inside of your head where you are shaming yourself and guilting yourself and pushing yourself down don't have a reason to be there anymore. Because that only happens when you're not accepting where you are. And then when you accept where you are, sometimes we don't feel worthy. We don't feel like I deserve to take that break, or that I didn't deserve to take it for that long. I should have bounced back afterwards. I should have done more. I should have been more productive. I spent too long on the couch. And so if we can flip the way that we speak to ourselves like a child, because that little boy, that little girl inside of us never goes away. And so if we think of ourselves, if that was my little girl, how would I speak to her? How would I show up for her or for him, Neil? How would I connect with them? And you go, you know what? If you needed to take that break, that's okay. What do you want to do now? Where do you want to go? How do you want to take a step towards that goal? Because you can't change the past, so there's no point in living there. But let's move forward together.
No. I have a audience question that feels appropriate to add here. So we had someone asking basically about the root causes of anxieties, problems that they're facing, and they're curious to know, in your experience, what therapies may be beneficial to help really to get to the crux of the unconscious patterns that they're experiencing, so that they can take the next steps forward after acceptance and beyond. What would you say?
I love this question, especially because I used to specialize in anxiety. One thing I want to clarify with anxiety is that often a lot of us feel like it's debilitating, something that we can't control. It's just something that takes over and it's overwhelming to the body. Anxiety in its simplest form, and I don't mean this to diminish it, but to really put it in perspective. Anxiety is about your imagination. Because when we are anxious, it is because we are imagining a scenario that might happen in the future, all the worst case scenarios of all the things that could possibly go wrong, but it is not happening right here, right now. And because your mind is incredible in so many ways, but it doesn't know the difference between what is happening right now, what is real in this moment versus what you are imagining, it will respond as though it is happening. And so our anxiety is based on the thoughts that we have in our imagination. So the simplest way to get out of it, easier said than done, but it requires discipline and it does work, is to change what you're thinking about, because you cannot be in two states at the same time. You cannot. If I ask you to smile right now, great, amazing, you're doing it already. And think about something that makes you really angry, but keep smiling.
Keep smiling.
Keep smiling if you think about something that makes you angry.
Yeah.
So your
Yeah,
face is
yeah.
confused. Right, because physiologically we have a blueprint for what angry is. And so it triggers the brain to think that we must be angry. But if you are smiling and trying to think of something that makes you angry, your brain gets confused. So if you are thinking about something that is making you anxious and your physiology is to be anxious, then change what you're thinking about. Because if you think of something of, hey, it's going to work out. And look, it's a bit more than that. I've got a whole process to go through it. But getting back to it, anxiety is a response to what you are imagining. Now, if you have a habit of that and it's been going on for a while, because we use our willpower sometimes to override it, which is great, but it doesn't necessarily last a whole lot of time. And so to get to the root cause of anxiety, these are habits, these are fears, these are traumas, these are concerns that are stored at the unconscious level. And so talking about our problems sometimes is great with friends, with therapists. Sometimes all we need is a perspective on what we're experiencing. But if you are someone that talks about your problems over and over again and you're not getting out of the cycle, then the danger is about talking about it anymore, because what happens is you are re-traumatizing yourself. Because when you are talking about it, you are imagining it, which is why most people get worked up when they're talking about something that upsets them or infuriates them. So the way to tap into the unconscious without talking about your problem over and over is hypnotherapy. Because what that does is it unlocks the part of your brain where the traumas, where all of this started, is stored. It opens it up. You're able to clear the trauma inside of that, and then it rewires the brain so that you can start to then create new patterns and new behaviors and changes that help you and serve you instead of sabotaging you.
Makes sense.
One of my teachers said to me, the problem with beliefs is we believe them.
Absolutely. So I love that you mentioned this, because do you know why this is so powerful? Because when I talk about hypnotherapy, people will sometimes ask, but will it work for me? I don't believe that. And I've gone, yeah, it won't work for you because that's what you believe. That's how powerful your belief is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Danger.
and I love it. And the other piece that when I find myself in self-doubt and the little hamster is going a million miles and it's telling me all these things, I ask the question, what voice is telling me this? Like, how old is this person? And is it my voice? So is it something in my past? Or is it my mother's voice? Is it my father's voice? Is it my Aunt Mary's voice who's telling me this because I'm never going to amount to anything? So as I've evolved, I have learned to pay attention to whose voice is running through my head and what age, if it's the Neil voice, what age that this is trying to control my life. And those help me. I find that it helps me tell and give myself guidance as to what I need to do.
That is so beautiful. And Neil, that touches on something that a lot of people aren't aware of. We have thousands, tens of hundreds of thousands of thoughts every single day. And when you ask someone how many thoughts they've got, they probably go 50, maybe 100, because we are so unaware of the conversations that are happening in the back of our mind that is influencing the decisions that we make, that is influencing how we show up and how we feel on a daily basis. And like you said, half of those voices aren't even yours. But this is what I love about hypnotherapy. Oh, sorry, Sarah.
I think I could recently that said we don't have like 50 thoughts a day. It's minimum of 65,000 thoughts we have a day, and most of those we've thought before.
Oh yeah, we're not original. We are broken records. That's the thing that is wild, because it's it's going on repeat in the back of our minds. And that's great if your thoughts are, I'm wonderful and I can do anything. And this world is just an open book full of possibilities for me. I mean, hey, if that's you, I want to be part of that story. The sad truth is, for most of us, the thoughts that are going on like on repeat in the back of our minds are, it's not going to work. I can't do this. It's too hard. I'm not good enough. I don't have the tools. I won't make it. And the really interesting thing is when I use hypnotherapy to work with my clients to go to the root cause. And this is the reason why I can move through so many traumatic things with them so quickly, because once you get to the root cause, it's like a dominoes effect. So once you clear the bottom, everything else disappears. You don't have to go through every single layer of what happened last week, what happened last month, and what happened last year. You're not going to see me for years. Most of my clients just see me for weeks, right? So I've had clients where they've seen therapists for years before they ever see me. And they move through more things in 1 to 2 sessions with me than they have in 2.5 years. Because what we're doing is we're going back to the very start. And adult Neil might not know when it started, but your unconscious does, because it stores all your memories. You don't forget anything, not at the unconscious. And so you go back to the start. And I've had clients go back and the depression or the anger that they're carrying or the fear that's led to their anxiety wasn't even theirs. They get to a place where they go back to the womb. And sometimes it's, oh my gosh, it was my mum's stuff. It had nothing to do with me. And that clarity in that moment of releasing and rewiring the brain, that's what sets you free. And that happens in moments. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't more work to do after that session, because you want to continue to rewire the brain in healthy ways that serve you. And that is a choice. But that root cause, getting to that and clearing it in that moment, no longer having to question, where did it come from and why do I think this? That is one less thought that circulates through your mind on a daily basis that sabotages you.
I love that you because that you talked about that you're releasing the energy, and then there's still work to be done. Because I believe that once you've released the initial trauma, we're such creatures of habit, even though we're no longer at the root level triggered by the root hurt or the root cause of what's going on, of our trauma and our problem. We have to relearn not to do the same action that causes us to be triggered over and over and over again. Well, I'll just make an easy one, that we can have a trauma and why we're overeating for our food addiction, but we have to learn to then make good, healthy eating choices. So you can release and not have the trauma of carrying excess weight or being underweight or whatever it is, but we need to make healthy choices and life is good.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a great example, because I used to specialize in anxiety, depression, and weight loss, and I don't even touch weight loss anymore, because what I found is I don't want to tell you what you should be doing on a daily basis, because there was trauma that was sitting underneath that originally. Often when we eat, it's normally an emotional binge. I had a really bad day and I'm feeling low. So I'm going to have that tub of ice cream on the couch to feel better. I'm going to eat that bag of chips. I'm going to have that block of chocolate. It's comfort food for a reason. But when we clear the trauma that happened, that caused it in the first place, you're no longer trying to fill a void with food. So I will often find my clients will naturally start losing weight as we clear the emotional backlog, because there's nothing that they're trying to fill. There's no void that they're trying to stuff down. But equally, they need to know what healthy choices to make. They need to know that, hey, maybe ice cream every night's not a great idea anyway. Maybe I don't need as much junk in the house. Maybe I want more fruits and more vegetables. So it goes hand in hand. What we do in one session, it's not a magic pill. You are still accountable for your life. It is your responsibility how you choose to then love yourself and show up for yourself.
And
Love
I
that.
love that, because even though we've talked about the tub of ice cream, but relationships are the same way. If you've been in a toxic relationship, or you were the cause of a toxic relationship, because sometimes we need to be accountable for what we have done in the relationship, or all the times we need to be accountable for what we've done in relationships. We clear the energy. We then need to bring in good, healthy habits, creating boundaries, creating this love for thyself so that we can be there for another. So let's move into relationships. And what are some of the things that I can do for the Neil that he wants to move into relationships with others? What's some of the things that I could work on for myself first to make sure that I'm healthy and able to give healthy or participate in healthy relationships?
That is a great question. And you know what I love the most about that, Neil? You started it with you. What can I do first? As opposed to where do I go out and find this perfect person for me? Where are they? How do I get them? What do I need to do? Because it's not a game, right? It always starts with us. And when I work with my clients, and look, especially if they're in a challenging relationship, the first question I often get is, how do I fix my partner? How do I change them? How do I make to make this a better relationship? And so whether you're single or in a relationship already, the question always has to start with you. And that can be a tough pill to swallow. I get it when you think that you are showing up and doing everything right and they're the problem. But really, everything starts with us, because what happens is in a relationship is that becomes the dumping ground for a lot of our baggage. That's where a lot of our insecurities come out, and our fears and our traumas. And that's why a lot of people talk about attachment styles, right? There's anxious attachment and avoidant and it's, but I don't like the labels. I don't like talking about your attachment styles, because the problem is a lot of us over-identify with our labels. I'm depressed. I'm anxious attached, I'm avoidant attached, I'm disorganized attached, as though that's just who we are and there's nothing that we can do about it. And so the only way to move forward is to look for coping strategies. I need to find someone that complements my attachment style. But here's the truth. You ready for it?
Sitting down.
Love it. You are not your attachment style. You are not the avoidant attachment. You are not the anxious. In fact, you're probably all of it, because the idea of getting to secure attached, that is transient, because it doesn't matter how securely attached you are. There are going to be moments in any relationship where you are going to feel anxious, where you're going to feel needy or clingy or worried that they're pulling away. There are going to be moments where you shut down emotionally, because something happened, it triggered a trauma inside of you, and all of a sudden you just do not have the capacity to talk about it, and emotionally you have disconnected. Your emotions have left the building. And so all of that is really just a symptom. If we focus on labels, we've missed the point and we are stuck. Your labels just represent an experience that you have had, and that has become your coping strategy. You weren't loved enough as a kid, and so you became needy and clingy to make sure that you could actually get the love that you need, because you didn't trust that it would show up for you. So to attract a healthy partner and a good relationship, you have to look at your own stuff first, because if you don't, either you are recreating toxic patterns and traumas that you've already experienced in past relationships, or you're going to attract someone that's where you are right now, and you're not going to necessarily get the loving, fulfilling relationship you desire. And if by some chance you do, you will sabotage it. You will sabotage it because you do not believe that you deserve it. So if we're not used to getting love and someone is kind to us, well, instead of thinking your response would be, oh my gosh, this was amazing. This is what I've waited my whole life to feel. You're going to turn around and go, what's wrong with them? How could they love someone like me? There must be something wrong with them. And then we sabotage that relationship because we are not ready to receive. So to attract a great partner, this goes back to the shadow work. It's the darker parts of ourselves, the parts that we are scared of. It is our anger, it is our sadness, it is our hurt. And I know that concept feels scary. It felt scary for me too. I'm not sitting here talking about this as though this is just what I've learned. I had to go through this myself. And I used to have so much pain inside of me that I thought my anger would kill me. And I know that might sound really weird or bizarre or silly to say now, but that is how dark and how unbelievably overwhelming it was inside of my body, that I thought opening up Pandora's box, it would overwhelm my senses and I wouldn't be able to handle it. So one thing I want you to know is no matter where you are on your journey, whatever you are scared to look at, whatever that shadow part of you is, whatever that darkness and that overwhelm is, it is never, never as scary as you think it might be. It will not kill you because you are designed to survive. And what I mean by that is that when you open the lid, your unconscious mind wants to protect you so much, it will only ever allow you to experience and connect with only the amount that is safe for you. Even if that feels overwhelming in the moment, it won't give you everything because it knows it's too much. And so it's like the onion. I mean, I don't know if you've watched Shrek, but I love that ogres are like onions. We are like onions. Okay. So we are just peeling layers at a time. Isn't it? And the reason I love this one as well is because as we start peeling layers of the onions, sometimes you get to a point where you go, oh, I fixed that. That's healed. I am done with that issue. I will never have to experience that again. And one day it rears its ugly head and you go, what happened? All of that work was for nothing. I thought I healed this. I thought I was better and it didn't work. And what I want you to remember from the onion analogy is that you are just going deeper. And you could not have accessed a deeper point if you didn't release the top layers of your onion. You never go backwards. You only ever go deeper. And loving yourself is loving yourself enough to go, I'm not scared of all these parts of me. Because nothing is bad. We live in a world where we think anger is bad and sadness is bad and depression is bad and it's good to be happy and it's good to be joyful, which, yeah, absolutely, it feels good in the body, but there's no such thing as a bad emotion. Every emotion is designed to communicate a message to you. It's just an attempt for your body to keep you safe. So if something makes you angry, then something has crossed your values or your boundaries and you need to take action to not be abused. For example, if something is sad, it's because it means you care and it's good to care. So going through the process of uncovering those layers, which is, I love doing this through hypnotherapy because I find that the most potent and fastest way to move through things because it works the unconscious level, right? We're not just sitting there talking about your problems over and over again, re-traumatizing you, making it bigger, reinforcing it in the brain. We are getting to the root cause. We are opening that up. We are releasing it just like you do with yin yoga and your breath. And then we start to rewire the brain so that old patterns, old beliefs, old traumas start to drop away so that you're less triggered when you get into a relationship. You're no longer operating from a space of, what if they leave me? What if they won't love me today? Will they show up for me? Am I going to be hurt or rejected when I open up and I share my heart and I say how I really feel? Will I be safe? Because the only way to have authentic relationships is through your vulnerability. And that's not weakness. That is one of the most courageous things that you can do. Because that is you opening your heart up, saying, I'm willing to be loved because I deserve this for me. Because it's not love that hurts you. It's people that let you down. It's disappointments, but that's not the love. We often associate, love is painful, but love itself was great. But sometimes other things come as part of that package deal because that's life. And it's having the courage to actually go, I'm willing to show up for it all because I would rather feel all of the emotions than just feel numb and alone.
Yeah. Well said.
I
And
love
knowing that our emotions are this beautiful array, everything on the rainbow, it's all our emotions. We see it inside, we see it outside. I think that opposite. How good is that? I love that we can perspective in the moment and do what's right for us. For me, everything you described, I found that in art therapy. For Neil, I'm assuming a lot of what you described you found in writing. Whether we find it through yin yoga or we find it through some other means, the point is that we found it and it's ours and it's there for the taking. There's so many things that we can try on and may or may not work for us. Keep going.
But this is
Neil,
great. Explore.
Yeah. Neil, I know you spent like 15 or so years in the men's health industry and working with amazing humans. What's been your perspective from the men's perspective as we start to run this conversation up?
Safety is important, and those that have strong masculine energy can easily make those that have strong feminine energies feel unsafe. So, as a masculine energy, I need to honor and recognize that when we get passionate and want and expressive, and whether it's an anger, it's an excitement, that I need as strong masculine energy, pay attention that I could be inadvertently making someone that has strong feminine energy feel unsafe. And safety is the way to build a strong relationship. We can have diametrically opposed opinions and be not understanding each other, but we still need to create a safe container to hold this relationship together. And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It can be two friends just getting along and disagreeing, but the safety of the container, the safety of the relationship needs to be maintained, because otherwise I can inadvertently or injure another, and that's the end, or could be the end, of a relationship. And as in men's work, that's one of the things that we share is to you are entitled to all of your emotions, the whole plethora, all the flavors of the ice cream. But you need to remember that we are energetic beings. And as we get excited, we're throwing energy out. And those that receive it can receive it in a way that it makes them fearful.
Well said. Yeah, thank you for sharing that perspective. I wonder if you, the viewer, can relate to that, and if you can, maybe get in touch and let us know your experience. We have had some amazing conversations today. As we wrap this up, Yalini, I'm wondering if there's anything that you would like to touch on that you've been working on. Like, obviously, you're an amazing human. You're doing great things as a podcaster and self-love coach. And I'm curious to know if there's anything that you would like to share with us that we can help to share with others.
So the thing that my biggest message these days, as I've gone through my journey, is I like to talk about self-love as the ultimate luxury. And the reason I call it the ultimate luxury is because when we think of luxury, we tend to think of things that are hard to get and that are expensive and give you some form of status and feel good when you attain it. Self-love for me is the ultimate luxury because it's one of the hardest things for most people to attain. And yet it's the one thing that most of us yearn for. And when we don't have it, we fill it in so many ways. We'll fill it with food. We fill it with holidays. When I go on that holiday, I'm going to feel good. When I go on that shopping spree, I'm going to feel good. And you probably have spent over the years tens of thousands of dollars trying to feel better about yourself by getting something outside of yourself. But self-love is an inside job, and it's a process. It's not something that just happens overnight or where you go, oh, I've loved myself today, so I've won. There are going to be days it's going to ebb and flow. It's going to ebb and flow like a relationship. But that process of loving yourself, it means that everything else that you have in your life adds to your life. It doesn't fill a void. You're not using it to escape. You're not looking at it at the bottom of an alcohol bottle. That is why self-love is the ultimate luxury. And that's what my passion is. That's what I help my clients with uncovering the layers of trauma so that they can actually feel good about who they are inside of their bodies and safe to discover who they really are outside of the stories that society has created.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing everything you have with us today. And I'm just going to put something on the screen. If any of the viewers would like to get in touch with you, feel free to reach out to Yalini. She has her website coming across at the moment. And of course, you can also reach her via Facebook and other places too. And I'm sure that you've probably got some interesting questions to ask her too, because as you know, she's a wealth of experience. She has studied a lot. She's got a lot of background in a lot of things that offer this beautiful, well-rounded experience for you, a potential client. So I don't know, maybe worth getting in touch. What do you reckon, Neil?
I'd like to begin to wrap up today that wherever you are in your journey of self-discovery, of self-love, and back into your relationship, like whether you're in a relationship, you can always improve a relationship. Whether you're not in a relationship, you can always improve this place from self-love. I would just like to let you know that you are worthy of all your goals, aspirations, and dreams. And all I ask is you to take one step forward to doing something that increases and enhances your version of self-love, your version of taking and improving your relationship. And be that love that you want to feel from others. Yalini, how would you like to leave our viewers, our listeners, and our off with today? Any words of wisdom?
I would like to complete it because you wrapped that up so beautifully. Just to say that just as you came into this world as a child worthy of love, that has never changed. As a baby, you didn't have to give your mum enough cuddles for her to love you. You didn't have to wait quietly while she slept for her to love you. You just came in kicking, screaming with a wet nappy because you deserve to be loved. And that has never changed. When you ask a mum why she loves her kids, it's just because. It's not because they dressed well. It's not because they got good grades. And so that is the form of love that you deserve. You don't have to do anything to earn it. You are lovable just because you exist. You came into the world that way and you get to complete your life that way.
Oh, well, that was a bit beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, I don't know about you, but my heart just melted a little bit. Oh, that was amazing. I love the depth of the quality of the conversations and the feelings that evoked in myself, and I trust that you guys felt them too. For me personally, I'd like to remind you that our thoughts that we mentioned before can be stuck in our body. So if you fancy just rocking back and forth, if you want to make the infinity sign with your arm, making it big or making it small, find a way to ground yourself and be in the moment. You deserve it. Until we see each other next time on Art, I trust you enjoyed this conversation. Feel free to type some words in and get in touch with everybody on the screen. We look forward to talking to you soon. And take care and design life you desire. You're worth it.
Take care.
Thank you.